fill gaps with some contract stuff and getting partnerships together. It resulted in a $10 million award from the Department of Energy. So he's very actively involved. He's also involved with STEM. He was over at AFWorks with us, looking at research and development and things of that nature. So I would respectfully ask you guys to take that into consideration and nominate Mr. Evans. Thank you.
Thank you. Chamber of Commerce IT Roundtable. I'm coming to recommend that Mr. Evans be nominated for the Community Benefit Oversight Committee because he has helped tremendously in building up the IT section in the Urban Chamber, and he has all the background for this position. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good afternoon, Chairman and Board. My name is Craig Knight, General Manager of KCEP, and I echo all of the support for Mr. Ken Evans. I have a friend relationship with him 10 plus years and a working relationship 8 plus years. I'm also on the board of directors for the Urban Chamber of Commerce, so I've seen him in action. And also I think being that he served our country, it might be a good thing for us to allow him to be on this, to be the chair of this oversight committee because of his integrity. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no more public comment, we'll close agenda item 2, open agenda item 3. If the board has had an opportunity to review the agenda and excluding items due to length is not allowed. But other than that, if there are any emergency items or deletions, I'd entertain that, or if not, entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
For the record, this is Ken Evans' motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thanks. Just a few comments before we get into the rest of the agenda today. We have certainly made significant progress over the last month. I want to thank everyone involved, from the Raiders and Stadium Authority, all the other interested parties, contractors, banks, the league. A lot of work has been done. You can see the result of some of that in your binders today. So I just want to say thank you to everybody involved for the significant work and progress that you've put in over the last month. Our next meeting will be March 1st. I just want to point out, and I'll probably do this a couple of times, that meeting is at 9 o'clock in the morning. That is when this chamber was available. We'll repeat that. We'll remind you that'll be the only meeting that we've had in the morning. And until yesterday, I had forgotten that. So I thought maybe someone else would as well. We'll today go through a number of documents, which includes all of the documents that the Stadium Authority Board would be a signatory party that have not been reviewed in prior meetings. Had a couple of questions on whether other documents that had been reviewed previously should have been in either the agenda or the binder today. We didn't feel like that was necessary since the board has reviewed those documents. When we come back, we will bring all of the documents. There is a pretty strong likelihood that each of the documents that we've seen to date will need some amount of technical adjustment to just align references. Most of the documents reference other documents as well, and making sure that alignment is correct. The terminology is the same in each one of those documents is important. So we will bring all of those documents back on March 1st for the board's review. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll look to close the open issues that are still outstanding. We will modify those documents for consistency. We'll also look to populate all the appendices and the exhibits that are a part of all of those documents. With that, any other comments or questions from the board? Okay. close agenda item 4 and move to agenda item 5, which is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which on the minutes themselves reflect the correct year of 2018. On the agenda, it says January 11th of 2017, which is just a technical error that we all made for a while in January. So anyway, if the board has had the opportunity to review the minutes from the board meeting on January 11th, 2018, I'd entertain any requests for changes or a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just add one item. The minutes show that board member Hornbuckle was absent under the attendance list. However, he arrived late. It is reflected on page 2. And speaking with the clerk's office, this is the way it's displayed due to the software that they use, so it is properly reflected. It's the same way it's dealt with in the county commission hearings. I wanted to make sure that was clear for the record.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brown.
Will my pay get docked? No, sir.
Okay. Yeah. For having no sleep, you still have a sense of humor, huh? Yeah. Okay. Entertain a motion?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Agenda item 6, I'll turn it over to Mr. Guerrero.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to just give the board a brief update relative to some of the administrative items that have been that we've worked on over the past 30 days, plus or minus. I'll be relatively brief in my comments. Under tab 6 in your binder are a series of documents that are there for the board's review and consideration. Atop those is the revenue collection update. Of course, we're keeping a close eye on the room tax. We have final data through November of 2017. That was $3.6 million, 4.7% below the budget projection. For the fiscal year, which is July through November, revenue is $20.5 million, exceeding the budget by roughly 1.3% overall. In terms of the totality of the period from March until where we are now, we're just over 6% ahead of projections. Nonetheless, we are keeping a close eye as the revenues have come in slightly lower over the past couple of months. December's preliminary collections are $2.8 million. That's roughly 10.5% below the budgeted projection, although we don't have all of the data yet in for December, so that number will come down a little bit in terms of being closer to zero, not higher negative. In terms of the reasons underlying the decline over the past few months,
what about
we
January?
did have a conversation with the LVCVA that attributes it to a slight decline in visitor volume in the fourth quarter, as well as the combined effects of temporary room inventory reductions, as well for upgrades and remodeling projects, as well as the near-term impacts associated with the 1 October tragedy. We continue to keep a close eye on that, but we remain very close to the long-term projection as we work toward the bond issuance period. Also, under this section are the financial statements and pro forma for your review. There are 2 sets of financial statements that are there for the board's review, so that just maybe to recall, the Stadium Authority Board has a budget of $1 million to spend in advance of the issuance of any stadium-related bonds. The 11 by 17 sheets that are included provide both where we are to date on that, as well as the projection through the anticipated bond issuance period. We are on budget. We have exhausted many of the professional services contracts that we have. We have renewed the insurance contract, or in the process, of renewing the insurance contract to continue to work with the county, which I always want to extend my thanks to as fiscal agent for the Stadium Authority Board. Nonetheless, we remain in balance relative to the budget and have every expectation to continue to do so as we make our way through this initial, what we refer to as the pre-bond issuance period. The third item that I wanted to go over is the director and officer's liability insurance. The renewal policy has been arranged at the same premium that we had last go around. That will be issued to ensure there is no gap in coverage. Again, thanks to the county for their assistance throughout that process. And then just a brief note on the meetings that have occurred over the past 30 days. Most notably, as we'll talk about in another agenda item, is the January 19th approval of the UNLV Joint Use Agreement by the Nevada System of Higher Education Board of Regents. I'm pleased to let you know today that that has been approved. There have been a series of other meetings with all of the parties to continue to work through the documents. I will not bore you with all of those. One other thing that I wanted to note on is the progress of Grand Canyon Development Partners, the development consultant for the Stadium Authority Board. Grand Canyon Development Partners has been reviewing an extensive library of project documents for its assessment of the facility as a first-class premier stadium as required by Senate Bill 1. The Raiders and their development team has shared a complete set of the 100% GMP architectural and engineering design drawings, 6 volumes of construction specifications, a comprehensive written design, narrative, and other project documents. They've been kind enough to make those documents available both here in Las Vegas for our team, as well as one member of our team, Jack Boyle, lives in Kansas City. They were nice enough to make those documents available in Kansas City for him as well, where he lives. Grand Canyon continues to work diligently on this. They've had a couple of follow-up conversations and data requests with the Raiders development team, each one of which has resolved the issue and led to the information that's being requested being provided. For that, I'm thankful for the Raiders' participation in that process, as well as their full development team. With that, Mr. Chairman, there are a number of documents that we will go through that will be the balance of the progress that's made over the past 30 days. If there's any other questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Guerrero. Any questions for Jeremy? Okay, great. Thank you. We'll close agenda item 6, open agenda item 7. Welcome Mr. Deneen and Mr. Ventrelli to the podium today. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it. We brought some visuals that they're putting up on the screen just to give you an idea of what's going on the site. Easy for me to tell you what's going on, but better to see it.
2, 1. Well, we broke up some of the caliche on the construction site for the Raiders Stadium that's going to be coming in, and get the construction started, putting people to work, which is what this is about. It's great to have the project moving forward. They're consistently taking positive steps forward. It's a long project. It's a long way to go, but it's another step that we took again today, and it's a great thing for the community, a great thing for the stadium, and a great thing for the Raiders.
Thank you. You can see on the screen we've been excavating for a while. We've essentially excavated up to the 50-yard line. We've moved 350,000 cubic yards of dirt, 203,000 cubic yards of caliche. And Monday we start driving some of the 1,600 piles into the ground. So we are making significant progress. The construction team is doing a great job. As you heard Jeremy mention, the 100% GMP drawings are done. That review process with all the construction team starts on Monday, and we'll go through the end of the month. So we're making significant progress on the actual site and on the design review. Just the last piece of news, our thunder was stolen a little bit by the NFL, but they did make an announcement today that Las Vegas is one of 5 finalists to host the NFL draft in either 2019 or 2020. So I believe the other finalists are Denver, Kansas City, Nashville, and a combination of Cleveland and Canton, Ohio, where the Hall of Fame is. So we'll put our bid package together. We got the bid specs about an hour ago. We'll go through it. We're working with a team of people here locally. We'll put together a great bid and hopefully get awarded one of those 2 drafts. They'll make the announcement at the late May meetings, which is about the 3rd weekend in May, so we'll know that. Any questions?
Questions for Mr. Bourdain? It's great news.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, agenda item 8. We'll welcome Ms. Littlejohn to the podium. Welcome back.
Thank you. Pleased to be here. Good afternoon. Lynn Littlejohn, Director of Community Benefits with Mortensen McCarthy, here to give you an update on the status of the progress on the Community Benefits Plan through the end of the year 2017. I think, as you all know, kind of the major components of the Community Benefits Plan, obviously, is the SBE participation, workforce diversity, our community engagement and outreach, talking about mentoring and growing the SBE and WMBE contractor base here, and internships. So I'm just going to walk you through those components. As it relates to small business participation, as you all know, the goal is 15%. We are currently at 18% participation with a little over $160 million worth of work having been awarded in 28 million of that to SBE firms. There are 16 different SBE firms on the project through the end of the year. 4 of them have multiple contracts, as you can see here. 5 of those SBE firms are also WMB, women and minority-owned businesses, and just a little under 90% of the firms are all Nevada-based. So I think we can say that it is the local community so far who has gotten the bulk of the work that's been awarded. We still have quite a bit to procure, so we're still early on the process, but we feel good about how we have started with regard to including the small business community in the project. As it relates to workforce diversity, it's a 38% goal. The goal applies to on-site construction work hours, and our participation levels are at 46% women and minority and 4% veteran. We are averaging about 90 workers on site currently, and we'll see that grow probably till about 500 workers by the time we get to the end of the year with the different scopes of work that start. As Mr. Bourdain commented on, the foundations work and the dirt works going on. You will see concrete work get ready to get started here soon. That'll go on through second quarter, third quarter. You will see the structural steel start, and then in fourth quarter, mechanical and electrical. So with those major scopes of work coming on board, you'll definitely see the size of the workforce on the project increase. With regard to community engagement, I think the results for how much of the dollars awarded to date has gone to the SBE, I think speaks volumes to the engagement and outreach we've done to ensure that they are made aware of all the procurement opportunities, made aware of them in a timely manner. So as you can see on the screens, it just talks about all the different outreach we've had. The kickoff meeting in June, just kind of announcing the project to the community, the procurement schedule. We have, as we have gone on with procurement, had pre-proposal and SBE WMB meet and greets that have been very well attended. We've advertised in the local community papers here. And then we've also made sure we have communicated to a whole host of community organizations and contractor organizations here locally, providing them all of the solicitation notices to make sure, again, that this community is aware timely about the procurement opportunities that have existed on the project. I'd also comment that we've also, kind of make a commitment to just not come here to build a project, but to really to be a part of the community. We have joined many of those organizations, and we have sponsored functions and events throughout the 6 months from June to the end of the year. So really feeling like we are a partner and not just here to build. The other community engagement I'll talk about is the project website. In the vendor registration, it has been very well received. As you see, over 1,000 total firms have registered there. About half of them identified themselves as small businesses, and as we have vetted them, a little over 200 confirmed as meeting the requirements of SB1 to be SBE, and the over 120 who are WMB firms, and the amount of those WMB firms who are also SBE. So that the vendor database on our project's website is utilized heavily by all the proposers in terms of identifying firms for them to reach out to meet the 15% goal for their scope of work. So we continue to update that and get more firms added to it as we go along. With regard to mentoring, we know it's important to grow the supplier base here. We are in the process of putting together our kind of resource center that will be available to all the SBE and WMB firms who are involved with the project to provide them technical assistance to help them grow and develop their businesses, mainly kind of what we call back of the house functions, estimating, VDC, banking, accounting, those sorts of things to help them grow their businesses. We're in the process of identifying kind of the format of what that technical assistance will look like. Will it be seminars? Will it be one-on-one training? Developing that brochure that we then will send out to all of, again, the SBE and WMB firms who are involved in the project to make them aware of this opportunity. And then finally talk about internships. We've talked about it's important to expose our industry to youth and make them aware of the career opportunities that exist on the professional side. So we will be offering summer internships, paid positions for high school students every summer throughout the life of the project. We are in the process now of identifying the schools to reach out to, putting all of the application materials together that will be sent to the schools by mid-March. Receive applications by mid-April to give us time to do interviews and select the students for them to start work probably early June and spend the summer with us. Just learning, how basically an engineering aide is what their position would be, and what our engineers do, how they interact with the owners and the architects, and what it takes to get a football stadium built. So that's ongoing. And then finally, again, just to reiterate where we are with regard to the goal, both for SBE and workforce participation. So I'd say, in closing, we're off to a good start. We definitely have a long way to go, but we feel good about how things have started and the momentum we have starting the project. So with that, I'll entertain any questions you may have.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. Littlejohn? Ken?
Not a question, more of a comment. For the record, Ken Evans, excellent report, excellent start. Thanks for hitting the ground running, and look forward to continuing to make this type of progress. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I've just got a question. Have you started to look at buying the major subcontractor packages, and is it too early to tell whether you'll have enough small businesses in those major packages? It's really where the concern probably would be.
Yeah, we have actually procured our kind of the major scopes of work, because obviously if you don't get the participation there, you won't have enough dollars left over in the other scopes of work, the other packages, to really make up the deficit. And those packages really are kind of, the concrete, the structural steel, the MEP, mechanical, electrical. In the conversations we've had with those proposers and pretty much anticipated kind of awardees, they are all pretty much at 15% at the goal. And so we feel good about, the combined dollar amount that represents for the project, and that we will get the participation we need to make sure that the overall project achieves the 15%.
Great, that's good news. And then quick comment, just putting on my new LVCVA hat, save a little capacity for us. We've got the same requirements. So
I will say we do feel good that we're kind of, first out in front to be able to.
I imagine you do.
Yes.
Thanks, Ms. Littlejohn.
All right.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll open agenda item 9. I'll turn it over briefly to Mr. Aguero.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Agenda item 9 is for the board to consider and authorize the Clark County Department of Finance to submit the Stadium Authority's quarterly economic survey report to the State of Nevada Department of Taxation pursuant to NRS 354.6015 and NAC 354.559. This is an action item. Mr. Chairman, this is the routine quarterly economic survey that the board has seen previously. It reflects developments from the second quarter of fiscal 2018, or October through December 2017. Prepared for the Stadium Authority, this document was actually created and submitted to us by the Clark County Finance Department as part of the county's efforts on our behalf. The only material item that I wanted to point out to board members is question number 4 that relates to any significant events in the region which could affect your entity negatively. There is a notation there that references both the events of October 1st as well as pending litigation involving internet access for resort fees. We're continuing to monitor all of that, including revenues and those activities, but nonetheless, those are included in our economic report for the board's consideration.
Any questions on this for Mr. Guerrero? Okay, hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to authorize Clark County Department of Finance to submit the Stadium Authority's quarterly economic survey report to the State of Nevada Department of Taxation.
I would make that motion.
So motion, second.
Ken Evans for the record, second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Agenda item 10, Mr. Rivera.
Agenda item 10, Mr. Chairman, is to receive and accept the audit report for fiscal year 2017 prepared by the accounting firm of I. Bailey LLP pertaining to the Stadium Authority Board. That audit is included in as item number 10 or under tab number 10 in your board binders. Representatives both from County Finance as well as I. Bailey are in the audience to the extent that the board has any questions or comments or would like any additional information. On page 7 of the report, generally speaking, the audit is, as they have explained to me, it was $958, which is required by the generally accepted accounting principles or the GASB requirements for local governments. It is essentially a mark-to-market requirement that is necessary for an adjustment as a result of the county's investment pool being rebased at the end of the period. Other than that, there are no other notable elements in that audit other than to say it's clean.
Great. Welcome. Would you like to add to that?
Yep, thank you very much. Stealing my thunder there. I'm Tamara Miramontes with I. Bailey Engagement Partner, and just wanted to present our report. We actually issue 2 reports in relation to the financial statements. One is the one over the basic financial statements where we do have an unmodified report over the financials. We also issue a report on internal controls and material non-compliance with laws and regulations. And we did not identify any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies or material non-compliance that would have to be reported to you. So again, a good, clean report.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Well, then I'd entertain a motion to receive and accept the audit report for fiscal year 2017. A motion?
Second.
A couple seconds. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Open agenda item 11. Mr. Guerrero, you want to introduce that?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, agenda item number 11 or tab number 11 in the board's binders to review, discuss, and potentially ratify Stadium Authority Board appointment for Vice Chairman Lawrence Epstein as ending December 31st, 2019, and Stadium Authority Board appointment term for member Tito Tiberti as ending December 31st. We have staggering terms, so one of them has to have a term that ends December 31st, 2018. The other has to have a term that ends December 31st, 2019. Staff spoke to both Mr. Tiberti and Vice Chair Epstein relative to that, thus the agenda item and recommendation that's for your consideration.
Any questions from the board on that? Okay. Don, I'd entertain a motion to ratify the appointment terms for Mr. Epstein of December 31st, 2019, and Mr. Tiberti ending December 31st, 2018.
For the record, Ken Evans, so moved.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Mr. Guerrero, I'll ask you to open agenda item 12, and then I'll make a couple of comments, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, sir. Agenda item number 12, also tab 12 in the board's binder. Pursuant to the requirements of section 2.2 of the Community Benefits Plan, approve the selection of one individual from the following list to serve as a member and chair of the Benefits Oversight Committee: Karen Cashman, Don Christensen, Joe Coe, Rose Davis, Miles Dixon, Donna DiMaggio, Andres Estrada, Ken Evans, Rebecca Fountain, Peter Guzman, Jerry Harris, Craig Knight, Anna Seifert, Sean Stewart, Sonny Vinua, Archie Walden, and William Wong.
Thank you. We left this agenda item from our last meeting with Sean Stewart having been nominated to serve as chair. Following a couple of days following that meeting, Mr. Stewart called me and asked that his name be removed from consideration for the chair position. He did express that he would be willing to serve in another capacity on that committee. That does not eliminate him from being considered by this board, but I just wanted to pass that on at his request. So what I'll do is open the agenda item to nominations from the board. And then after we receive all nominations, I'd entertain a motion after that. And in between there, if there's any discussion, we can have that. So.
Mr. Chair, if I may, Bill Hornbuckle for the record. I'd like to nominate, having missed the opportunity last time, Ken Evans for chair. I think Ken has shown a passion for this subject, has been engaged intimately. We have dialogued on it often, and I think he'd make a great candidate.
I'd second that nomination, and I echo those comments about Kevin, or his qualifications and what Ken brings to this. Very strong candidate.
Other nominations? Okay, then I would entertain a motion.
I can make that motion. I can make that motion.
Chip.
Second.
A motion in a second. All right. A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, so I have asked several times, and I ask for every board member, not just pertaining to Mr. Evans, for legal clarification on if it is okay, because what I've heard from my legal department is there might be a possibility of a violation of Dillon's rule for a board member from here to also sit on an oversight committee. So that goes for any board member, not just Mr. Evans. And so we can clear this up. This has nothing to do with me against Mr. Evans. This has to do with protecting ourselves. So I went and requested legal opinion from my legal counsel, and my legal counsel tells me we could be in possible violation of Dillon's rule. So I've asked several times for that clarification on legal opinion and never received it. So I'd like the legal opinion if there is one.
Well, thank you, Mr. White, and we'll ask Ms. Miller for...
Mr. Chairman, it's common and permissible under Nevada law for a governing body to appoint one of its members to serve on any subcommittee or any other related committee which follows the mission of that board. So the committee, since this committee is specifically referenced under Senate Bill 1, appointment of a member of this board to that committee is perfectly permissible.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you. So we'll open agenda item 13, Mr. Guerrero.
Mr. Chairman, agenda item number 13, also tab 13 in the board's packet. Pursuant to the requirements of section 2.1 of the Community Benefits Plan, create a benefits oversight committee to provide monitoring, oversight, and accountability in connection with the performance of the Community Benefits Plan, and receive a report on the appointments to the Benefits Oversight Committee made pursuant to section 2.2 by Governor Brian Sandoval, Senate Majority Leader Aaron Ford, Assembly Speaker Jason Frierson, and the Oakland Raiders. Mr. Chairman, we have received the appointments from the other appointing parties. Governor Brian Sandoval has appointed Rebecca Fountain, the president of KOR Building Group. Nevada State Senate Majority Leader Aaron Ford has nominated Monica Ford, the president and chief executive officer of Nevada Partners. Nevada State Senate Assembly Speaker Jason Frierson has appointed Rose Davis, Director of Corporate Services and MBE Development in Nevada for the Western Regional Minority Supplier Development Council. And the Oakland Raiders have appointed Peter Guzman, President of the Las Vegas Latin Chamber of Commerce, Don Webb, Chief Operating Officer of Las Vegas Stadium Company, and Lynn Littlejohn, Director of Community Affairs for Mortensen Construction.
Thank you, Mr. Guerrero. As I understand it, our role here today for action is to create the Benefit Oversight Committee, and then those appointments would automatically be made. Is that right?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
So any questions from the board? If not, I would entertain a motion to create the Benefit Oversight Committee.
So moved.
Motion. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Congratulations to Mr. Evans and all those who were appointed to the Benefit Oversight Committee, and we look forward to working with you moving forward. Okay. Close agenda item 13, open agenda item 14. Mr. Guerrero, this one yours?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, agenda item number 14 and tab number 14 in the board's binder is review and discussion of the UNLV joint use agreement presented for review and approval by the Nevada System of Higher Education Board of Regents on January 19th, 2000.
Hey, folks, I have to remark that, in fairness, it has to be mentioned, getting over that political hurdle today was a gigantic deal. Sean Stewart coming up and saying to Stephen Hill, the chair, I want my name removed from consideration, really opened up the gate toward completion of the community benefits agreement. And the reason is that Tommy White had wanted Sean Stewart. He didn't want Ken Evans. And Tommy White has received some criticism regarding the apparent desire to block people of color from having significant roles in the process. So, and I said apparent desire because if you asked him directly, I'm certain he, no one would say, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, okay? But I digress. The bottom line is the appointment of Ken Evans to the Community Benefits Committee, while board member, is a common, something to do. It's not an issue of Dillon's rule. That was something that was made up as an argument, but of course the legal counsel came in and straightened all that out. So in fairness, I have to say that's a major hurdle to get over because it was causing the delays in the meeting. They couldn't get anything done. And but Sean Stewart saying, hey, look, I don't want to be the head of this Community Benefits Committee was a big deal, although, and he magnanimously said, I'll help out where I can. That really changed things. And so maybe Tommy White has some hard feelings. We'll see what happens. I don't think, my gut tells me we're out of the woods. I have to stop in just a few minutes. And in fact, I better stop now. I got to get ready for Lee Steinberg. But the meat of this meeting, in terms of the approval of the people who sit on the Community Benefits Committee, has been done. And if you want to watch the rest of it, it's over at Clark County. But I've got Lee Steinberg coming up at 2 o'clock Pacific, which is 5 o'clock Eastern, and I need to reset everything to get prepped. So I'll be right back at 2 o'clock Pacific. All right, thank you all very much.